Good evening, everybody. I'm gonna have to police that my intro. Y'all know I worked hard on that intro, and I play it before it goes, and it goes fine. And the minute that we go live, it wants to act. It wants to start acting up. Maybe it might be time for a new intro. Who knows? You know, I love my intro, and so normally in this place where my intro's playing, I'm like, excuse me, saving it, moving making sure that it's playing on the video's playing on all my sites and all my pages, trying to get there. And the minute I hit play, it went bad. I don't know what it is, and so I tried it twice. So we gonna have to fix this, right? My Ubuntu Nation, we gonna have to figure this one out. But can I just jump on and get started? Absolutely. I love the intro. It motivates me. It moves me. Can I just jump on and get started? Will you mind if I jump on and get started? Some people be like, yo, man, that intro is so dope. I'm like, look, it challenged me every time. So I love watching it. But we're going to get started today. Uh, Again, 2026. We are doing this thing well. We are actually finding a lot of growth and a lot of development inside this season. I'm going to say it again. There's a lot of growth and development inside this season. We are doing so much in with World of Akibaland, and a lot of changes, a lot of development going on that is just blowing up way more than I could have even imagined. So we're gonna do some recap for you, so to bring you in, just in case you've missed one session, one season, one series, one test. We're gonna sit down and bring you in on it. Okay, I got somebody who just walked in with appreciate it, bro. Thank you. And so the pieces showed up at the time of the show. So in this place, we're gonna play catch up. If you're just logging in for the first time, if you're interacting and you're watching this for the first time and you haven't seen this, we're going to catch you up, and we always do a recap. And I check the YouTube page, and all the other lessons are on the YouTube page. So for the first 3 months, the first quarter, we were working on the awakening of the African mind, trying to shake you up, move you, adjust you, so that your brain can be open and aware of actually what's going on. So we had a lot of black reality going on, the awareness part, bringing some clarity to some things that you may not even know that was going on around you. Then we went from there to say, hey, we need you to restart your narrative. Because if all you start off with is the history that they give us in these, what they say, yet to be United States, if you don't restart your narrative, that it goes back to the point where you are reaching the beginning, or the genesis of your beings, or your people's beings, of your culture, you won't realize who you are and how special you are. And so we took you way back. We did a lot of work just to get you ready for that self-healing. And when we sat down and we got to that point, we started our self-healing, we said, look, it's time to move. Now that you know what the world has done, and if not, we're going to get it, you need to learn how to heal yourself. I have a friend who has a womb cleansing program for the sisters. And one of her lessons is, she says, you have to become your initial healer. The healing that has to happen to you has to happen through you. So you have to be first. You have to be your first healer. And so here we're dealing with emotional maturity, pattern recognition, and that's important, because that pattern recognition is going to deal with the conditioned self. There's certain patterns of conditioning, and there's certain patterns of behavior that continues the conditioning, and there's got to be new patterns that we set to restoration, right? And one of the things that we want to talk, always let you know now that you're dealing with the healing, because a lot of us point out blame. I did this to myself by not responding this way, or my mom and dad did this, or some stranger did this, or however it happened. This is just how it's always been. We understand that regardless of how far back the trauma goes, where you got to heal within, you didn't start it, it happened to us. This journey with inside yourself to understand how powerful you are is a spiritual journey. This is spiritual warfare, right? This is tapping into your most higher being. This is reprogramming the brain. We deal with a lot of metaphysics, but we deal with some serious concrete application as well. And so we want to make sure, that you understand, yeah, when they came to get us off the motherland, they didn't just take the land and the resources, man, they stole our understanding of the divine self, our connection to everything and all things. They attacked our minds so they said we can keep them locked in to this slave state if we reprogram how they see themselves, right? So we come out with wounded emotions. And in that space, they say, in those terms of conditioning, they said, keep the body, destroy the mind. But in all reality, if our bodies function from a state of energy and power and strength, and we're looking at ourselves in sports and all these different modalities of expression, we realize that our bodies are strong. So if we sit down and say in this process that our bodies are actually weakened, we exist in a weakened state. The African diaspora exists in a physically weakened and spiritually weakened state. So to say that and to look at how we are surviving, imagine what it looks like when we can come out of this enemy system. Who are we outside of this enemy system? What were we able to produce outside of this enemy system? This is why the first time we went through this, we said you have to go back and restart. You see it? We have to change the narrative. Those first 3 months of the year, we were changing the narrative. And now we're dealing with that second quarter where we're returning to the self, returning to the divine being inside you, going through the issues of our pattern recognition, the awareness of the pattern recognition. Now we're dealing with the issue. We went through the understanding of self, say week 17 through 19, and now we're breaking the cycle. This is the first step of breaking the cycle of the patterns. You had to first be aware of your patterns first to be able to break the cycle of it. And that's important. I do have someone who asked me, said, okay, Ajay, why does my old self creep back? It's because you have not taken the time to slow down enough to realize when the patterns creep in. In one sermon I was asked to do, and I'll share this with you. I sat down and said, in this process of psychologically conditioning the black spirit, the mind and the spirit, conditioning it, there is a fail-safe mechanism that we don't even know exists. As black as we can be, there's a fail-safe mechanism, right? How can you get a copy of the chart? Easy. Speak to me, Ayana Cradell. This is my chart. So all you got to do is reach out and we'll discuss that. But this is, this is my intellectual property here. This is what I work on. This is what I dig in. This is how I put it together. I don't know what everybody else is doing in this journey, but on my assignment is to help the healing process starting from the ages of 2 until you transition over. So there I have the adult versions of this and the young versions of this, the youth, and it'll change for the youth, and we talk about that in this series. But now we're dealing with the breaking of the cycle, right? And so let me get here. In this journey, that first one was healing, ancestral healing, patterns across generations. Now, when people start working on themselves, they never realize that you act just like your mama. You act like your daddy. Or if there was an uncle that passed away, an ancestor that passed away, they said, you remind me of my grandfather. Realizing that there are certain things that are inherited inside us. And so there are patterns throughout the generations, and you have to understand that. You have to know that that's there. Sometimes you're watching yourself respond or act or do things. It's not necessarily just you. Some things you were born with, right? But that don't mean that they have to continue. If they can stop, they might have started with you, but they don't have to continue through you. And so that was the part of understanding those things. Not even that. Not only did those patterns happen in you, you got memories, ancestral memories, where you remember the pain of your uncle's uncle, your grandmama's mama's mama. If you dig down deep enough. If you go into that closet, sometimes you are not just hurting for the life that you have, you're hurting for the life that has always been. And you got to be able to go way back to the point where you know you're at a particular level of healing when you have come encountered with the African inside you that has never been colonized. That's a powerful being. Now, if you want to sit down and engage with somebody, real talk, and this is true, you want to call on the ancestor to help you fight this, the most strongest individuals are going to be the slaves. Right? Tap into the memories of the slaves, because they had to be about some fortitude to sit down and say, we're going to withstand this just so that you could be here. They withstood their issues of punishment, behavior, everything, behavior modifications, all of it, just so that you could be here. And so you may owe them. And they said, look, we got you. She said, you got a point. When I reflect on the last 3 months of my life, I have recognized patterns within myself as I focus on my current state and how I have been to remove things and people from my life who were only comfortable with me being the lesser me. That's that magnetic force that we talk about. It's funny because I had a friend, but his name is Eric. I have a friend. His name is Eric. And me and Eric always talked about sisters attracting the same type of energy. And the only time we are magnetic fields, and who we are, we don't track what you want. You track what you are. You only can pull towards you into your deep, intimate inner circle that which vibrates on the frequency which you are. So now when you elevate that and you switch that, you don't even have to walk away, because they realize that they're not supposed to be there. And you don't have to say anything. They'll disappear sometimes. They'll definitely disappear. She said, yeah, I need the chart. Okay, you go. We'll talk about it. I got no problem with it. We'll talk about it. I need that chart. I got to call you. Or, Ayana, you just keep watching, because I got 52 weeks of these lessons, man. I've been in the crates. It's like being a DJ. You digging in the crates. I've been digging in that crate, getting them ancestral downloads. And so we got some lessons coming. So that's just the second quarter. You didn't even see the list of lessons from the first quarter. And then the third quarter we got coming. But you always need to deal with the fact that there are ancestral memory. And if you can heal inside you, and you're talking about breaking chains, having true deliverance. It's not about you having deliverance in just your life. You have delivered your ancestors. Now, when you deliver your ancestors' issues, you break free of the chains that was put on them, and they pass it to you. Why? Because they looked at you to say, look, we need you to be the one to heal your ancestral bloodline. If you find yourself in a position in a conscious community at this particular time, and you have not gone in to yourself to heal the wounds of your ancestors, if you have kids, you're passing it to them. All the generations coming out of you are there. Or anybody you dealing with who are younger than you, you're passing those traumas into them. And so the same way we have epigenetic trauma, we also have epigenetic triumphs, those healings. And that's when you start tapping into the power of who you are, and you start developing traits and gifts that you didn't even know was birthed in you. And so we went here and we dealt with The survival identity versus the sovereign identity. And everybody that should, I don't care what they doing, they're in that survival identity. Fear, doubt, not being enough, people pleasing, comparison, survival mode, always responding. Let's get that. Being reactive to a problem, and that's even organizations. If you have an organization that is reactive to every problem that America has, survival. You're supposed to be a proactive state where you're building something toward a vision of you getting back to that sovereign identity. If everything you do is to, if you sit there and say, I got to get my food, clothes, and shelter, and I hate the conversation and the lingo we use today. I get out that bag. Everybody's a slave who uses that term, and if you got something to say about it, you can call me. We can go at it. Getting at that bag. What is that bag? Your survival technique. You need your food, clothes, and shelter, and how well you need your food, clothes, and shelter. That's up to you. Now, when you're dealing with that sovereignty identity, of course, you cannot have a revolution without finance. You can't. But then you're dealing with the issue of cooperative economics. And we got something coming out for that, right? We got something coming. She said, I have attracted bums. And I realized that. And let's say this, and this is the thing that I'm going to jump a little bit for you, Ayana, because you're my girl. You know you're my girl. You got to always understand that the enemy has done this to us. It's not just they are the way they are because an enemy system has corrupted all of us. It's corrupted the women and the men. The women and the men. And one love to you, my sister. If Jermoji said, and I was remembering the last conversation, he said, man, y'all gonna have it hard. I was like, why? He said, because they're making the world look too well, and then the black woman start acting like a black man, it's over. It's over for our community. But you understand that an enemy has done this to us. So I always say, don't look at them in the issue of anger, resentment, negativity. Why? Because that festers inside the being that you're supposed to become, and it doesn't belong in you. You have to get to the point where you have empathy and sympathy. You can distance yourself because they're halting your development, right? And then maybe that becomes a conversation. Do you understand? I'm trying to become an aligned being. I'm not looking for just being great, a better me. I'm looking to be aligned according to my grand design. And are you at flow with the alignment that I'm seeking? Are you truly seeking your divine alignment? And when you see it that way, you realize they're not bums. They are no more than the conditioned beings that the system had created them to be. I feel for you. And what you say is, I hope that there be a place in your journey where you have an opening that the Most High can get through. You have an opening that your ancestors can speak to you from. That you have an opening. Because a lot of people, and me and you could talk, we ain't going to make it personal, but we can make it personal. A lot of people got that game. And we come across a lot of people who got that game. But you look at that game that they speak and make a decision on whether or not it's a part of, and I'm going to just jump to it because we're already talking about that mask. Now, of course, those who, because me and Ayana, if we ever really, when we start talking, we kick it. I always say that, and I said I see a younger, hungrier version of my female version of myself, as aggressive as she can be when it comes to her manifesting and creating the things that she sees that she knows that she can do. But there's always a process to that. Some things that you got to work on, right? But we're talking today about that mask versus the authentic self. And most people don't realize that you were not born to pretend. And you think that you're actually being your authentic self, but you're pretending. You're pretending to be, even when those with the gift of gab and got the knowledge and read the books, you can tell the difference between somebody using that particular persona as a means of, I'm going to switch masks to have a different mask, to the point where I'm actually becoming my authentic self and I'm seeking divine alignment. right? And divine alignment is something different. It distinguishes again your false identity to the true self. You ever heard somebody say, "Hey, can I get the real you and not your representative?" We never get the real person. I don't even care, yeah, that was my representative yesterday, and so please forgive me. No, you're still your representative. And so when we start asking ourselves that, we are actually charging and challenging a person to get behind the walls. One of the things that used to be so unattractive to me was when you meet a sister, you don't meet a sister, you meet the walls she stand behind. And I can't function from somebody who stand behind fear. I can't function with somebody who stands behind doubt, right? So this one is about, again, noticing who you are in this space, in this journey, in this place, because we are all pretending. We're pretending to pretend to pretend to pretend. It's layers to this thing. We even got a code switch when we go to work. So you go to work with one face and you come back with the other. And I remember when somebody first told me, and I said, "Code switch? What's a code switch?" I was doing it without even knowing what it was. And I had to look it up. And so being able to move from that space, but we don't know when we're doing it. And if you look at this one, you'll see where it says the Ubuntu. There is the Ubuntu language with the Steam language, and I blend the Steam together, those languages together, to create an experience of some serious healing. And so we know that, in this space of that mask, knowing that we put on so many different faces. If you were here from the last week, we said there are so many different survival personalities inside you. This is why you can go to work and be one person, go to church, be another person, go hang out with your girlfriends, be a different person. You're switching person to person to person. There's so many different masks we put on when we don't even know where's our true self. And it's so well done. The system in which they created, where an enemy has done this to it, what they did was so clever. And if we don't pull back, slow down, and take a look at who we are, it passes us. It completely passes us by. But right now, we're going to sit down and say, oh, what is the mask? The mask is the version of yourself created to survive environments, expectations, fear, rejection, pain, or emotional conditioning. It is not always fake intentions, right? Because you really trying to, but it's often disconnected from the truth. Do you really feel a certain way? Yes. But is it different, disconnected from the truth of your being at the core of who you are? Yes. It's, be who they need you to be. Okay, that works. The mask also says, hide what you feel. Okay. Perform for acceptance. Stay safe by staying small. Another thing that the mask will say, protect yourself at all costs. Nah, that's individualism. Protect yourself at all costs. It's all about you. We're going to talk about that in this lesson. The mask protects, but it also limits. It allows you to get to your day to day, allow you to get through your 9 to 5, allow you to get from your week to week, allow you to get to month, and allows you to get to the end of the year where you coming in with some resolutions and you think you didn't take the mask off. You're just going to do something a little bit different. You're going to put on a new mask. But when you start dealing with your authentic self, you can tell the difference. Authentic self is the aligned expression of who you are beneath the fear, beneath the programming, beneath the performance. Getting under that who you are. One of the things that let me get this. It is the self connected to awareness, truth, clarity, purpose, and that's the thing. If your higher self is not connected to a divine purpose, it's still a mask. You deal with emotional honesty and inner peace. There's no wrestling like Mm-mm. The authentic self does not need to constant performance to feel worthy. At one point, that used to be my issue. Real talk, it was my issue for a long time until I realized one thing about myself when I came across my authentic self. It said, I don't know how to be second to me. So, excuse me. I don't know how to be second to myself. And that usually pushes people away. Why? Because I love to feel how powerful I can be. I'm always searching for the awareness of the depth that I can glow. Mm, let's say that. I'm always seeking the awareness of the depth that I can glow. But in this space of before you can even get to that glow ship, right? That Godfidence, where you're not walking, there's something that people can't change. It's a divine swag that's in you, and you can't shake it off because it is the authentic self. It is connected to the awareness of the inner divinity. We don't talk in our community about the inner divinity enough for us to have a community of individuals who function from that inner divinity. That's awareness that there is a mission inside you that only you can do. Only you. No one else is supposed to be doing this on this earth the way you're supposed to be doing this on this earth. And that is truth. But it takes that point where you're having that, we're in Pentecost season, that Pentecostal experience inside, where you are experiencing the kingdom within you. I'm going to let that resonate. How often have you experienced the kingdom within you? That power. And so, in order to get to that point, that power within you that has an endless source of information and strength and wisdom, where every time you move, you feel fortified. And you can make moves that where people are going to doubt you and not even help you, turn their back on you. But you know that you're supposed to do, I'm supposed to make this journey for the sake of my ancestors and for the sake of those who are coming after me. It ain't got nothing to do with you. It ain't about what you've done and how well you've done it. It's about what they called you to do and what you produce on behalf of that awareness that I'm on. I live here on assignment. I don't live here on my own individualism. But you got to sit down and be aware of the mask that you put on. You got to know the and please look at the other versions if you haven't seen this. The fragmentations of your consciousness. And she said the flag is learned or required survival tactics. Oh, okay, this is not Juma. The mask is sometimes a result of learned or required survival tactics. Woo! Speaking out of experience, but on this healing journey, I am getting closer to remembering the authentic self. It is reinventing after reinvention after, what's it? I can't see that. I can't see that from here. But that's what you got to get. You got to dig beyond. It is your survival needs. It's beyond your desire for food, clothes, and shelter. It's beyond the desire for approval, and it's so much that mask keeps you from all of that, but it sits there because as long as you need food, clothes, and shelter, and acceptance and love from everybody, and you don't feel connected, you're going to create a mask that you're going to have to get it until the African diaspora says, you know what, it's time for us to just, and that's why Ubuntu is important. It's time for us to see each other. Love thy God with all thy heart, mind, and soul, and thy brother as who? Thyself. You got to realize that your identity is in the creation, all of creation that comes from the Most High. So seeing behind the mask, many people don't realize that they are living through masks because of the behavior has become so normal. You are used to acting like you act so much that people say, hey, what's the phrase when you talking or meeting somebody, you like, what's it? You get what you see, or take it or leave it. Take it or leave it. I'm leaving it. Every time. I'm leaving it. You get what you see. You see what you get. I ain't getting none of it. Because there's always the most powerful you just behind those different faces. You have individuals who will not move behind their mask. And they want to be able, they think that you can have a healthy relationship, but you want to have a relationship based off of the conditioned self. Ayan, and that's the thing. You cannot think about having relationships based off of your own conditioned self. You got to be able to give something high to get something higher. Because maybe the individuals that you're with are supposed to challenge each other in that tug of war where you start pulling out each other's greatness. You charging that person that is broken just like you are broken. Charge them to level up. Charge them to level up and see what happens. But how the mask shows up in our daily life, you're always to pretending to be strong. Man, I had a couple of sisters call me about this one. I can't always be strong, and I couldn't empathize because being strong is not a. I don't pretend. There's no pretending. Now, do I feel weighted sometimes? Yes, and I wait for the strength that the Most High is in my ancestors are going to send me to endure. But you can't. I don't ever pretend to always be strong. When you're hurting and you need something, yeah, reach out. Reach out. Then you people pleasing. We've been talking about this since this season has started. You can't please everybody, and you shouldn't be doing anything to to be pleasing to somebody or seeking a reward. Do things to be great just because you can. Can you produce something out of greatness just because this is what you were called to do? Man, that's a big one because a lot of people can't. You always need your accolades. Emotional avoidance. Some people don't want to. Hey, I don't want to feel. That used to be me. I didn't used to want to feel all mushy. Now I feel mushy at times, right? Controlling behavior. Now, and that depends, controlling behaviors, or controlling behavior. Yeah. But you got to sit down and make sure that somebody is doing exactly what you want them to do, the way you want them to do it, so that it protects you. Not to get the best out of them, but it protects you. That's different. That's when you know you got your mask on. When you're trying to be controlling just to protect yourself. Now, I'm going to control my environment and the conversation simply because I need to get the best out of you. And if I allow you to run wild with your behavior, nothing's going to happen here. But I need to, wait, I got to hold on this one. Why? Because I'm going to shift it. I'm going to shift the reality to awareness. And when I shift the reality to awareness, now we both learning. We both growing. We both developing sometimes. So you got to be, that's a thin line. Right? And then you got fake confidence. And then you see where it says confidence. I tell the kids, I said, look, you can have confidence or godfidence. Confidence can always be changed. I don't care what it is. I can switch somebody's confidence, make somebody less confident. Just got to find the right language. But when you confidence, and it's what you feel about who you are and what you're representing is steeped into your connection to all of the universe, you can't shake that. Sometimes it shows up with aggression hiding insecurity. You got some mean people who are mean just because you're insecure about who you are. Another mask. Then you got people who I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. They hide. Silence hiding fear. And I had some friends who would do that in a heartbeat. Immediately be quiet and resort to texting versus communicating because they are that silent mode. They fear the exchange. Success without fulfillment. That's how it I want success, but I'm not fulfilled. I did this, but it doesn't do anything. I did this, and it doesn't change anything. Mask, because you're not actually feeding into what success really is. Constant seeking validation. Anytime you got to pat your chest, smack your chest, me, how will I you? becoming different around different people. Didn't I say we had different masks on every time? Tons of masks. Depending on who you with will determine who you are. Situation. The mask often begins as protection, but over time, protection can become imprisonment. It locks you in. And you think it's you being the normal you, but it's actually you killing the spirit within you. Your mask, your kind of, can we just all get along? Where you not wanting no confrontation. No. And I've seen some brothers actually admit this. I don't like confrontation. I don't like arguing. So I'm going to just go do this thing. You have a mask on. Take it off. I know growing up, for me, it used to be, I used to call brothers out. You need to take that skirt off, bro. Sorry, sisters, but that's what I used to say. Because I didn't understand the language, the liberation language of what a mask was. And I used to tell brothers, yo, you need to take the skirt off because that ain't going to help you right here. I can't relate to you with that on. Brother said, what are you talking about? What are you saying to me? I couldn't even explain it to him. And then I understood further. Yeah, you wear a mask. You're not your natural self. And you're changing in front of the audience that you're in. And we're supposed to be building something together, and I can't build it because I don't see the authentic you. Now it costs you anything, a whole lot, the cost of the mask. The longer a person lives disconnected from truth, the more exhausted they become internally. It wears you down. It wears you down. The mind feels it. The heart feels it. Your relationship feels it. Your body feels it. When you can't be the authentic self, the most powerful being, whether they love you or not, you walk into your awareness in the Creator, in God. Over time, the mask creates emotional fatigue, confusion, anxiety, resentment. A lot of people who crossed over with that. Identity conflict, disconnected relationships, loss of purpose. They say what the graveyard has all the riches, all the gifts, all the talents, all the great ideas that never got a chance to come to light. The graveyard has it all because you kept your mask on so long that your timing to actually walk in your purpose passed you and you couldn't get there. And so you transitioned over without manifesting everything that was put inside you. Those individuals got to make that journey back around. Deep insight. The mind says, keep me safe. Keep me safe. But the soul says, this ain't who we are. And can you imagine that battle going on inside you? Somebody did this to us. Now, we talked about that, the colonized self and the African mind. We talked about that in the first step. But can you imagine? You have every time you put on a mask or you use the resources or the consciousness of that mask, you having the two entities inside yourself at war with each other. The conscious and African mind, conscious of you, and that conditioned mind or colonized mind self, always clashing. Now, when you become aware of who you are, that allows some distance between you, the real you, and the false you, and you'll be able to make those moves, those changes. The awareness of it, you just got to slow down enough to sit down and look at you, not at the world. You ain't looking at the world. You ain't looking at your family. You ain't looking at your friends. You ain't looking at your cousins, your buddies. You ain't looking at the people that you watching on TV. The people, you can't look at them. You got to slow down to look at you. People's like, how can you help me? I can get you to make the decision, hopefully get you make a decision to go inside, but I can't go inside of you to fix you. You have to be willing to go inside yourself. And if you ever watch the Power of the Divine Self, when we talked about going inside, doing internal work, and we went in depth on that one. So y'all look at that series, and I'm gonna finish that series up. I got like 5 more chapters for that. Let's see. We're gonna see if we can start those 5 chapters real recent. But you have to get to a point where you are going inside your own self. Can't nobody do that for you. I had a sister who said, Baba Lau said, the reason why her ritual didn't work was because she didn't do the work. I said the shame of that scenario and situation is the fact that they should have told you what the work was. It's the inner battle. That inner battle to change self. He's an intercedent to help you understand, like anything else. After a while, do you need an intercedent? Do you need a Baba Lau to speak to your ancestors, or can you go inside yourself and listen? I asked the kids, World of Akibaland, if praying is speaking to the Most High and your ancestors, when do you stop to just listen to get your answers? Because if you always doing this, you can't hear. Once you start healing yourself, you got to spend a lot of time in silence until you can heal and feel the essence of those who are around you to give you direction. And when you get to the point where you are finding yourself in more states of silence, then you can talk about, I'm working toward getting to my authentic self and how I'm supposed to function in the midst of the collective. I am because we are. If you're not doing this to be more connected to the collective, then you're doing it for the wrong reasons. I want to have a better life. Yeah, but you're still a part of the collective. How does that relate to what type of life? And how does that relate to what people are looking at? She's right. Ayana just said, going inward is the hardest thing someone does. Absolutely. Because there's no person to encounter but you. You don't encounter what your mama did. You don't encounter what your daddy did. You encounter you and the pain of you. You encounter what you carry from them. Not them, what you carry from them. You can carry the uncles you've never met and their pain and what you carry from them. That's hard. What are you still carrying? This is why they talk about forgiveness being strong, because forgiveness is not for the person that you're forgiving. The forgiveness is the fact that you're still carrying that. You still got an imprint on that. You got to let that go. You got to let that go. There's a 3-part. I am because we are, and we are because, and I changed that last part, Ayana, and I rewrote it. She put it down there. So I'm going to share this with you because she made the statement. And I don't want anybody to walk away from that statement where it says, I am because we are, and we are because I am. I'm going to say that is the weakest understanding of Ubuntu that we have ever been given. That is a part of our conditioning. Whoa. Did the brother just say it? Yes, I did. And I don't know if you was at this ceremony, Ayana. We had Chief there. Chief was doing a thing, and it was an Ubuntu ceremony. And everybody was chanting, I am because we are, and we are was because I am. But my ancestors entered into the room. Every brother and sister that ever been a part of our church entered to the room. I'm sitting in the back of the sanctuary, rocking back and forth, crying. Because they said that doesn't complete the circle. Because it makes it into a simple social engagement with just each other. I am because we are because I am. That is the weakest understanding, because if it was so true, it would have been easy for us. So, World of Akibaland, and the kids know this. The kids know this. This is why when you see the transition of the kids now versus before, I am because we are, and we are because of the great I am. Stop. That closes the circle. That closes the circle. I am because we are. Now, that's a connection. But we are because of what? The great I am. Now, in our phase, they say you got to love your God with all your heart, mind, and soul, and your brother as thyself. Right? In I am because we are because I am. It doesn't take us back to the Creator. In the two most greatest commandments coming out of Christianity, love that God with all the heart, mind, soul, and strength. They give you your creation. They first point you to the Creator. Then love your brother as thyself. So I'm going to give this to you, sister, only because you're here and you talking, and this is live, y'all. I had this planned it out when I was going to drop that, but my sister, I know and she's reeling. Come on, I'd say, talk with me. I said, I appreciate you, Ayana. We talking today. I am because we are, and we are because of the great I am. Meaning that it is imperative that we focus on our identity, because that identity connects us back to the Most High. We are because of the great I am. If it wasn't for the Most High, none of us would be here. We wouldn't even be chocolate. We wouldn't be a part of the African diaspora. The Creator put us in these avatars to accept the responsibility of bringing our people together. Now, I know I probably ruffled some feathers by saying what I just said. Give me a sentence stronger than the one I just gave you. I am because we are, and we are because of the great I am. It is a divine obligation for me to connect to my people. That's Ubuntu. It's a responsibility that we have to always be family. That's Ubuntu. I have to learn how to trust you. I have to learn how to communicate well with you and be responsive. I got to give you honesty and share my emotions, good or bad, in the best way so that we can grow. And in fear disappears. All of it disappears. That's when you walk into your fearlessness. A people can sit down and mount a struggle when they know that I am because we are, and we are because of I am. And the great I am, will never allow us to be defeated if we are walking in alignment with divine purpose. We don't talk about that enough. And I'm not looking for the Creator outside myself. I'm looking for the Creator inside myself. And when I look you in the eye, I don't just see you. I don't just see myself. I see the Most High, and understand that the kingdom in which we exist in, our consciousness is within us. The kingdom of the Most High is within you. So there's no way that if I look at you and understand that there's a kingdom of the Most High within you, that I could treat you or mistreat you, because it's in me. So we treat each other like we both sacred. We both sacred. So it actually is a little bit deeper. Just a little bit deeper. And I have a whole lesson on that. I sit here and I go to work, girl, and I appreciate you. Collective reflection. Children learn masking from everybody around them. And we talked about that. Kids learning from us. And they just watching. Everybody is learning from us, younger than us. So if you don't learn how to take off your mask, people are learning. The children that you are around are being corrupted by you unconsciously. Now, if you have a child who is around beings who understands that I am going to be great because I am called to be great, I'm manifesting my highest self because my highest self is a manifestation of the Most High. What do those children look like? Well, how do those kids perform? If you've been around your parent, I have a sister. I think I came into her life at 11. She's about 13. and she has not been shown. She's been shown so many different masks from her family. She don't know which one to wear. And every time she puts one on, it's just a horrible experience to watch. And as I continue to tap in, I got the chisel. And I told her by the time you hit 12, your brain frequency has been altered so much that you're in survival mode from the age of 12 and until you begin to engage yourself to heal yourself. 12 years old, you're locked into survival. Woo. And so we teach our kids and condition our kids. And I did that study where they said, look, we didn't care about in slavery. They did, and in colonialism, they didn't care about the first generation of African Americans or anybody from the African diaspora, African descent. They didn't care about the first because they said that we can't condition the first. We're gonna get the first. We're looking for the third and fourth generations. We're gonna abuse y'all. And then when the woman is pregnant with the baby, we're gonna abuse her some more. Because then now you're feeding what? Fear to that child. Horror to that child. Pain to that child. That child comes up out a ball of knots. We didn't want you, we wanted the generations after you. Now we got to get to a point where we've been given so much social media information, we got endless access. How do I study so much so fast? Look at I got access to everything. They messed up when they give somebody who really truly seeking their higher self access to information where also you can feed. That doesn't say I don't look at the dummy tube sometimes, but what gets more time in my psyche? You got to offset these things. And so this Ubuntu layer, you got to be able to see the kingdom that is in someone else, inside yourself. And you got to see the kingdom that is inside yourself in someone else. Let me see if I can find this real quick. And that's important. You don't get to that. And if you haven't seen that lesson, let me see if I can put it up here. This is that lesson. The kingdom within. Identity as a spiritual technology. We talked about this in the first quarter. There is something inside you waiting for you to become aware of who you are. Because we got work to do. Humanity will not change if this don't click. If we don't get this right. You have to get from behind your mask to be able to feel that connection. When adults heal and become emotionally honest, we create those safe environments for us to really have community, us to really be connected. And if your community that you exist in venture from that, is because the environment didn't become safe anymore. Something was been forgotten or something was stopped. And you got to be able to be that unifying glue again. You got to be that unifying glue where it comes all the way back together. That's when you know you're talking about building a nation that is living off of the understanding that we have a responsibility to heal humanity. Now, there is something, and again, I had to develop the language. I had to develop. They gave me the language to speak to. One day I wake up and they said, "This is what you want." They want you to teach, and so with Akibaland, I teach them out of a system that says the steam. You are God's steam. You are the steam of the Most High. You are God's science. You're God's technology. The Most High's engineering. You are the art of the source. And you are supreme mathematics. Science where you are made from the elements of the universe. Everything that is around in the universe is in you. Right? What? Yeah. Technology, life itself is a system of exchange and intelligence. That's how it works. Engineering, your body is perfectly made in the design system. The universe is a system. The creator made everything into the system. You are a perfect system that exists in the system that has multiple systems. There's nothing wrong with you. People are out trying to change themselves. There's nothing wrong with you. You were perfect when you were made. And then you are the Most High's artwork. No two expressions are the same. You are beautifully you. Beautifully you. Then you are God's mathematics. Patterns and sequence and structures exist within us. You see the Fibonacci sequence is there, the golden mean. You are not random. You are perfectly, wonderfully designed. You just got to get past those masks. And so we do this because we want to always connect, access that system. And this is what we're affecting. They control the steam of who we are. And we have to take that back. And so in this lesson, we have also, and we do that, and that's the metaphysical aspect. So, right, the creator is in us all. So when I say I am because we are, and we are because I am, for me, it takes the thought off of my help comes from something mystical, something outside of you and I. I begin to see that my help, love, salvation is not only comes from within me, but is also within you as well. Exact. And I get that. I get that. I am because we are, and we are because of the great I am. I get that. And again, I'm always going to touch into that metaphysical, that power, that existence of the creator. And the fact that we are physical manifestations, all of us are physical manifestations of the creator. Hence, the terminology of the steam. Now, what we did here was we had one version of the language that is 100% metaphysical, right? And dealing with metaphysics is our relationship to the smallest, minute structures of the universe. We are connected to the universe in ways that, wow, it blows my mind sometimes. When I tell it says, we can't live without a tree. Huh? What was that? That was oxygen going in. Carbon dioxide going out. Now, where did this go? The tree said, sucked it up. Yes, they did. We are in absolute perfect balance with the universe. And we always need to remember that when we're fighting, because when you get to that alignment and you start doing Ayana, you're gonna have me take on a lot of these chores that I used to do. I used to do an African spirituality class online on Saturdays. And you sit down and you get to that point where, yeah, you are so aware of the change that you have when you walk in a room or when you're outside in nature. Why? Because they said grounding. When you're grounding outside in nature, it is set for you where your energy comes from your feet out to the roots of the tree. It comes up to the tree. The tree brings out that, and it's a cycle. To see that happening is one of the most beautiful things, and I never believed it until one day I sat there outside in front of I got two trees, and I always talk to my trees, and Mother Jaribu was a tree hugger. Ayana, you remember Mother Jaribu, and she's been in my life in my ear for so long. And remember, I'm walking down West End street, and I saw her hugging a tree. I was like, "What you doing, brother? You don't hug no trees?" I said, "No." I'm a tree hugger now. I sat there in front of my two trees, feet grounded and breathing, relaxing, talking to the trees. And when I tell you, it took my blood pressure straight down to normal. And I've always been battling with that. Straight down to normal. I was like, wow, blew my mind. So I'm always dealing with the metaphysical, always. But then you also have the physical. So when you're looking at the steam of God, these are the tangible things. Science is the understanding of reality. Technology is understanding the system integration. Engineering is the structure and behavior of you. Artwork is how you express the modality, the experience of being you. Mathematics, which is the patterns and awareness of your life. We make it physical. We got to make this journey physical, spiritual as well as physical. And so in this journey, we sit down and we talk about understanding the system behind the mask and the authentic self. The system behind it. So you get more clarity. You say you a tree hugger also? It took me a minute. But wow. So there was one time where I sat down and I was interacting with this, I was doing my nature thing, going into myself, and I disappeared. My feet disappeared, my hands disappeared, everything about me disappeared, and I turned into pure energy. I felt connected to every blade of grass, every piece of dirt, every rock, gravel, tree, bird. I was in I was nature. I was in nature and I was nature. And I just started bawling out crying because I felt a unification, a oneness that I had never felt before. And I sat down and I said, this is how I want to exist. She said, that's where I go when I'm depressed, into nature and hug and cry and talk to the trees. I always feel better afterwards because one of the things about nature, and this is why people love nature so much, nature don't know how not to vadum, which is be in alignment with divine order. That's all vadum is. Seeking alignment in divine order, vaduming. It doesn't know how not to. This is why people love water. One of the most power elements to vadum. To access that kingdom, recalibrate that energy, that field of energy. It happens because it is who it is. I am because we are all. When I say we all, we are here because of the great I am. And my we in that statement is we as in anything that is physical, not just human beings. This is why we have crystals. Let me show my crystal sitting on my desk. This is why? Because we connect to those crystals, have vibrations, frequencies. Always tons of amulets, crystals. We have those things. And so being able to be in that nature, when I can't get to nature, I crystallize, I heal through crystals. I sit down and meditate, amplify. Man, to see my crystal altar is a beautiful thing. But to get that life, yes, to sit outside in them trees, absolutely. And at one point, I would, coming from New York, I would always go to the beach and run or walk on the boardwalk and listen to the ocean, feet in the sand type of thing. And then, of course, you get into inland and New York didn't have a lot of trees. That's why I went to Savannah State University, One Love Savannah, because it brought me back to that nature experience. But yes, we need it. So now into the space where we're dealing with the system layer, science, thinking, and awareness. The brain learns protective responses from repeated experiences. And some people do the same thing the same way at all. And no matter how old you get, you can have some elders who still have behaviors when they were younger. And if you ain't still changing as an elder, no disrespect to you elders, you still got some journey in before it's your time to transition over. Because you don't want the people that you're leaving behind to have to heal you while you're there. Because you transition within that DNA to them. Spiritual DNA too. If a person experiences rejection, criticism, and instability, the mind adapts survival behaviors to reduce the emotional pain. Over time, these patterns become automatic identities where you just think that's natural. Ain't that something? So in this space, that science, you got to understand the science of how the mind works. And when they decided to make us slaves, they understood the science. Technology, internal processing, thoughts and emotions operate like internal communications. If the internal dialogue, and we said language is programming, how you speak, how you think, and the kids know If a thought is off, not if I didn't say it though, I was thinking, but you was thinking it. Yeah, but I didn't say it. That's why the scripture says, "As a man thinketh, so shall he is," because a thought is the language that the body hears. And when you're not talking and you're in silence, and even when you go to sleep, whatever your dreams are, your brain don't stop. If you were insecure while you was woke, you insecure while you sleep, and that continues. The engineering, how your system, your behavior system works. The mass becomes a behavioral system. Repeated reactions create habits, hiding emotions, avoiding honesty, controlling perceptions, performing strength, disconnecting from vulnerability. What? The body eventually memorizes the behavior. These computers that we have they mimic the computer to create us. What's she say? You gotta go. I'ma call you. One love. Appreciate you. Yeah, since you started talking to me, this show went a little longer, but I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that at all times. Appreciate having you. And so in this space, you have art expressions, right? Your art, the engineering, your behaviors are automatic now. You've done them so long. But after you do them, you got to write it down. I responded the way I used to respond after this, so and so and so and so and so. I realized where I was when I did this. It wasn't clear to me until this reminded me that I fell into a perception or behavior. Now, next time, this is what triggered me. Next time, this is how I seek to respond. And in that space, you have expressions. Authentic expressions allow creativity, peace, and emotional freedom. A lot of people who go through a lot of things and sit down and they start writing music or playing music. I have my guitar and real talk, and I haven't played it in a while, but I remember sitting down just strumming, and it relaxes me so much. I put the guitar down and fall straight to sleep. That expression that allows just freedom. And this is why, I have a friend of mine who is expecting a baby. I said, I'm going to call his wife to talk to her. She has to allow whatever stresses that are in her so that the baby feels nothing but peace. The mass intimidate. The authentic self creates, the mass it mimics somebody else. Ain't that something? Couldn't get the word out, but it's okay. Mathematics, patterns, and cycles. Patterns reveal identity structures. And if you can get those and you get those triggers, and I remember going through my own personal healing processes. Since I said, the minute that you see your triggers, whatever situation causes you to flip back into a level of thinking, because once you become aware of your triggers, you'll respond different to everything and anything. Your result, you can change that. And at one point, and I'm speaking to a couple of people, one brother was like, you got to get a faith test. So what you mean? You got to sit down and tell, how you gonna be faithful to God if you can't tell the Creator what's going on? Uh, Sorry, excuse me. And so that's important. You got to be able to sit down and, hey, pops, I messed up on that test. I always do that. Most high, I thought I was gonna catch myself, but I couldn't, and I just went off. Give me another opportunity, please. Give me another opportunity for me to act, to see the trigger, pause, breathe, respond differently, get a better result, and then I'm fine. Once I can do that, I don't care what happens. You're not gonna get me there no more. And a lot of times I count down on myself to, I don't know if anybody been in an argument with me, and they hear me counting down. That's when I'm sitting there saying, okay, I'm done. I'm gonna put my mask back on. And it sucks that I do that. I suck. And I got to get to the point where I'm telling myself, no one is ever allowed to get me to put my mask on. I'm aware of my higher self, and I'm gonna keep that. You want to come at me in a state, in a conversation, in a situation where you're pushing me against the wall or you're denying the reality of me. Mm, okay. And sometimes I come out my protective mode, and I got to find healthier ways to do those things. So we all in that space, right? I tell you, I'm not a gatekeeper. I don't get information and I keep it to myself. I share it. I was literally told, brother, if you go down this corridor, the only way you should be allowed to go down this corridor is if you make a decision to teach everything you learn. And then after a while, once I said that, this was already the throat chakra was already turned on, right? My heart chakra increased my throat chakra. Then my third eye opened and I could see. Then all of a sudden the downloads started coming in. Incredible. Now, when you sit down and you start working on that, you're looking at the alignment shift. When you're coming from understanding who God wants you to be, moving from performance to alignment, you sit down, wait. Be who they expect to be who you are. Yeah, I don't think we'll do that. Hide what you feel to express what is real. And that's the thing, not just express, because sometimes your anger is not real. It's just the fact that you are an angry person. And it's not real. So that doesn't mean be mean for the sake of being mean. You got to understand that you are expressions of that pattern. No, I didn't mean that. Prove your worth. I lived a life where I felt I had to prove my worth. Now it talks about know your worth. I'm going to add this too. Live from your worth. Mm. I'm always going to produce what I'm called to produce, and you can't stop me from producing it. I'm here for you. Instead of staying safe, choose growth. The kids know that you have to have a opened mindset to continue being who God called you to be. Control the perception or live in truth. Sometimes, I know I do this. I control the perception so we can live in truth. I understand how you perceived it, but this is what it was. Now, because if you see it this way, you walk into the alignment of what this is. I throw my hands up. If you can see it this way, now open up your perception. Your perception is small. Open up the perception to see what the universe and what God and your ancestors are doing. Open it up. Because if we stay locked into you, or we're locking in to your Eurocentric type, I'll open it up. Let's live in truth. We are all conditioned and we're functioning from our conditioned self. Now, how can we address this not from our conditioned self, but from our higher state of being? And that space is how I deal with perception. So that's a fine tune. Higher operating principle. The authentic self does not abandon wisdom or boundaries. It simply stops abandoning truth. I'm not going to. I remember I went through one of the hardest things in my life, and I started posting before Isaiah the African came out. I realized being who I wasn't did not get me the life that I really wanted. And I said, I'm only going to be who I'm called to be. And then the shift happened. Peace, emotional clarity, healthier relationships, stronger decision makings. Yeah, Cardinal Labaya was like, how are you making these decisions so quick? I can only be who I'm called. People, when they talk about breaking up relationships, I don't want to really start over. You don't start over. You pick up where your last blessing left off. You're never starting over in life. You're picking up from your last blessing. Perception is everything. Alignment begins with reflection. This is why you got to look at yourself. Ask yourself, who am I when fear is removed? Woo! where you walk into a room and you like, look, we gonna do what we do because we're here to do it. Period. I ain't scared of myself or the audience or anybody looking. Let's go get it. What behavior or behaviors are performance? Where you're doing something just to perform in front of people. What's naturally you and what's a performance? Ain't that something? I think for me, over the years, it was me being silent. I would when because I don't know, I don't know how to be second to myself. So I'm always gonna be my greatest self, but I would always let others go before me. And that silence is what was a performance. Because if I am at who I am, like now when I go into my sessions, me personally, I don't want another. I can't take a class or and expect not to come out empowered. I come surrendering everything I got because when I get off this class, I want to know. I want to know that I'm multiple steps closer to my highest state of being. What parts of myself need healing instead of hiding? A lot of people hide. Sometimes you just got to be honest with you. Again, you can't. You can't. You got to go inside yourself. It's the hardest thing ever. Alignment is coming. What truth have I been avoiding? That's another thing. But alignment is coming. Truth over fear. Awareness over automatic patterns. You got to shift and not be just you. Growth over survival. Purpose over approval. The goal is not perfection. It's just living in honesty. And a lot of people want to, this is my truth. No, it's actually your lie that you're expressing with your mask. That is not the truth. The biggest truth that hurts is that we are living in a state of survival. And sometimes that state of survival, we hurt each other in that space. That doesn't mean that person that hurt you or don't like you. It means they don't know how to live with you. And you want to learn how to live in alignment with those who you are assigned to love. Ain't that something? And so in real life, awareness without action is just information. Application creates transformation. You have to do things different. You have to be different. Observe the mass. Step 2, pause before reacting. Practice emotional honesty. But you got to be able to speak truth in a way with respect. It's how you express that. Not aggressively, not performing and, you know, I remember someone said we were supposed to have hard conversations. Yeah, but they're not supposed to be disrespectful. Align actions with values. How does this show a healthy value? Then you create safe relationships. Safe relationships. Surround yourself with an environment where people function from the place of honesty, growth, trust, faith. Everybody supports each other. We have the same identity. That's important. Community in this. Well, we have a big community in our community. We call it the Sacred Circle. Beautiful, beautiful experience. When functioning at its natural state, protect your peace. Choose the people who reflect the good side of you and not help perpetuate those things. You have to find a way. Find a way to give better to be better. I remember another phrase I use in my life is, I am the love I seek till the love I seek seeks me. That's the magnetic field. I am the love I seek until the love I seek seeks me. Means that I'm always going to be who I'm going to be, no matter what happens. But the love I seek is going to come to me. And then you have the part where you got to choose you. Now, this is a tricky situation. Sisters be like, I'm choosing me, I'm choosing me, I'm choosing me, I'm putting me first. No, you're not. You putting your mask first. Right? Brothers don't say, I choose me. People say, I want, I'm trying to, you got to bring me peace. Yeah, but, was it keep his peace secure? Yeah, but you got to be your highest state of self. I can't keep the peace with you, or no sister can keep the peace with you if your peace is a reflection of your silence, which is a reflection of your mask. Hmm. Think about it. You can only choose yourself if yourself is focused on the alignment, divine alignment. I no longer hide behind performance. I observe my patterns with awareness, and so I'm clear of who I am and who I'm not. I see my shortcomings, and then I see my strong suits, and I'm going to continue down the part where my strong suits. I choose the higher self, not choosing me as choosing your lower state. I choose truth over fear. I align my thoughts, emotions, and actions to the greater good. I express who I truly am, not my pain. You are not your pain. Your pain is what you experience. Who you are as a divine being. Express that side of you. I move with clarity. I move in authenticity. I am whole. I am real. I am enough. I live from my values, my purpose, my truth. I create harmony within myself. I speak, I act, I respond from harmony, not fear. I see clearly, I understand deeply, I choose intentionally. I release the need to be who I'm not. I move in clarity. I make decisions from honor that honor my higher self. What? I move with authenticity. I move as my intended self. We're not here to pretend. We're not here to pretend who we are. We're not here to guess. We're here to live from that state of higher self. And one of the things that we say when we're talking about Ubuntu and, you know, these lessons are matched with kids, but in a world of Akibaland, the kids know that their adults are getting different lessons than the kids are. Because the adults have lived so long, adults need to be deconstructed. You need to be always being broken down to a particular point where you build back up. Adults absorbed years of conditioning, survival patterns, and false beliefs. You got to deconstruct that. And then you got to put in what's right and righteous, right? When adults heal, they create safe environments for who? Children and other people to what? Live from a state of healing. But when kids are guided, they grow strong and free. That's the difference. I tell the kids, what I teach you, I wouldn't teach adults. Because adults, I have to help them decondition themselves. And as they decondition, they have access to higher states of their being. You are not haven't been conditioned. You have not have been conditioned. Hey April, I see you. Thank you. Some of my family peeping in on me. And so when you're dealing with children, you have to direct children. Now, and I tell them, if you are not completely directed to who you are by the age of 12, you're locked into the survival mode. And one of my babies are locked in, and I'm fighting her with the hardest. And then I said, it's not the fact that when you're around a sacred community and sacred people, it's when we let you go and ain't nobody there. You can tell if a child is functioning from their higher self is when they're by themselves. When they're by themselves, do they can continue walking that alignment? And the more work you do from the ages of infancy to 11 will tell you what type of child you have once they hit 12. Because you're dealing with that frequency and that theta and beta and gamma mindset. You get that 12, beta mindset sits in there trying to survive. But if you sit down and you can keep them in that theta state, coming out of that childhood into that theta state, into that them teen years, hitting 13 in the theta state, you got a genius. You got somebody that flows. You got somebody that sees. You got somebody that moves. I see you, April. Hey! You can do that. And that's the difference between how we teach adults and how we work with children. Every kid I talk to, I work with, I said, I'm not trying to get you to do what I want you to do. I'm not trying to get you to do what your parents want you to do. I'm trying to get you to experience the Most High within inside yourself so you can hear from internal awareness what you were called to do. And that is the experience of the world of Akibalan. Having kids that have different moments where they are empowered within inside themselves. And so I don't want to create, I don't want to have a world where the adults were not deconditioned and they left kids on this earth who aren't deconditioned. And so this slave state of who we are, where we want access better communities, better people, better leadership, better programs, better organizations. Why? Because we didn't feed what we were supposed to feed into our youth. When we have so much more access to more information, we should be creating higher individuals. I chose years ago to sit down and say, well, I don't want to really be on social media because ain't nothing there that I want to see. So that means they told me you need to be the information that you need to see. And I said, okay, I could do that. And now we're putting forth a whole generation of black youth who can walk into those teen years not in beta state, but in theta state, in gamma state, those higher states of thinking and feeling where they're powerful and they're making decisions according to their divine alignment, not according to what the world wants to force them to become. That's important. And if we can do that, we can change, they can change the world. We can just help them do it. So if you heard anything today or tonight that connected to you, come on and join the mission. Have these conversations. I'm gonna sit down and challenge Ayana to come on more. Yeah, and as well as Najuma. I get enough people, we're gonna have a collective where there's gonna be a conversation and dialogue. A community open dialogue. It's called the collective. If you heard something that moves you and you join the conversation, bring a child. Let's not just heal you, let's guide them to their higher state of selves. And if you can do that, then you know without a shadow of a doubt, the African within you comes out. And then the world actually has a better opportunity to be who they called to be. With that being said, I don't know what my outro video gonna look like when I hit this day, but we're gonna try it. And I'm gonna tell you, I'm on one love. I see you soon. Peace.